Welcome to Flirting with Realities. I believe this is episode 51 with your adorable host, Carolee, and your man host, Eric.
Pretty adorable, though.
I'm pretty adorable.
And humble.
And humble. Yeah. So we've taken a couple weeks off. Had some stuff going on, and I think maybe we just didn't feel like doing it one week or something. Or...
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, the kids came over 1 week early. So we had them on a Thursday. I think that was the second Thursday we missed. And then it had been 2, and then I started having a toothache. Yeah, it just...
And then we had a week, I think. That's when we just kind of let go that day or something, I think, and just I don't know. It's
life
been
just happened, I think.
Well, yeah, and I think things have been kind of weird and stressful, I guess, for me on the way I look at it, and it's just been different. And I think it's a little bit like looking at the sauna and the cold bath. There was one night where it was just like midnight, and I was like, I've done like the sauna and cold bath for whatever 100 and something days straight, and not missed a day, and I'm like, well, I don't want to get all like crazy about it, because like, when you start doing everything in a row, then you get obsessed about it, and I'm like, I don't want to be the obsessed kind of guy. And so I took a night off, and I think it's similar to like taking a podcast night off, because next thing you know, you're taking the next podcast night off. And it's like the same thing with the sauna cold bath. Is like, I missed that one day, and now I've missed like 3 days or 4 days.
Really?
Or something.
I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, I mean, even that I just came and picked you up from the airport on Tuesday night, and it was like,
yeah,
I didn't sauna cold bath that night,
It's like, I figured that.
But it's like you just let it go, and then next thing you know, it just, everything slips. And it's weird how things work like that, because it can be the same thing with exercise. It can be the same thing with diet. It's like,
yeah, it can be.
I think that's a hard thing about being balanced, is because it's hard to be balanced. It's so easy to be on either end of the spectrum.
It is. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to make an excuse. Yeah, well, the kids were here, and then I had a toothache, and then, yeah.
But it's so easy to be the other way, too. It's like, no, we're doing the podcast because we do it every Thursday, and you get that rhythm, and it's like...
Yeah.
It's harder than just being lax, for sure, but it's so hard to just be a balanced person.
My feeling about missing the podcast, and normally in my, a few years ago, I would torment myself and make myself feel guilty for these kind of things. I don't. I look at it as long as we get to episode 100, to me, I'm fine with taking 3 weeks, 4 weeks off. Now, if we abandon it altogether and we don't get to episode 100, I have a problem with that.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, do you ever wonder if your goal of making it to 100 would make you fail around 100? Like just a little bit after 100, because that was your goal?
Like to go beyond 100?
Yeah, if you're just like, we just got to make it to 100, that's just it, my goal. And then, like, if you say that out loud and that's your intention, like, what's the chances you quit at like 105 and you're like,
No, I don't think I would be that person.
You're not that way?
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, goals are just weird, I guess. But I think a lot of it, to me, is like, I used to be way more that way, where it was all or nothing. But I think a lot of that for me has to do with age.
Yeah.
Sure. Because in my 20s, it was just like, raw, just everything, just raw, like I'm like energized and mad at everything, like, ah. And now it's just like, I don't know, man. It's like, cool. We'll just take the night off. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what, 46 now? Like, damn, what's this going to look like at 56, 66? And then, then you think about like the old person that's like 95 and they're like, they don't even talk. They just like kind of hang out.
I mean, I think it depends who you are. I have a lot of my dad in me, and I don't see. I mean, sure, there's a part of you that lets go of some things, I think, but I still see us both actually as being people who get things done. But
right now?
no, in our older years.
Yeah, but I think if you would have shown me today when I was like 20, I'd been like, dude, so lazy.
What are you talking about? You're like
That's
one
how I
of.
feel.
Why? You're doing stuff all day long.
Well, I think
It's
like
not lazy.
it's not lazy. It's in my head, but I think even like today is like a good example because I mean, I was talking to you last night in the sun, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to get up early and I'm going to get things done. I'm not even going to do emails. I'm not going to do any of this stuff because I want to get things done. And then all of a sudden, it's like the problem is I have goals and I want to achieve those goals. And then like things get in the way of my goals. And then I feel like I let myself down because it's kind of like I made a promise or like a goal for myself and then I couldn't get it done.
Oh, I didn't know you wanted to wake up early today.
Well, I mean, the waking up early today thing was kind of like we went to bed really late last night, so
Yeah,
it's
like
kind of like.
2 a.m. or something ridiculous.
But still, the point is more. I want to make steps towards getting things done, and like today, just nothing got done. Again, but this is again. It's not just today. It's like every day for the last however many months of my life has felt like this, where I just can't get anything done.
Yeah, but you could also tell me like when you want to start waking up early, and because I want to wake up early too, and I can just make that happen.
Well, the problem is I feel like I'm a reasonable person, where I'm not willing to get like 5 hours of sleep anymore. Like,
Yeah, but you may need to one night so you can go to bed early.
well, but here's the thing: is like, okay, I want to get up early, but why do I get up early? I want to get up early so I can get things done. But it's the kind of the same thing as like, yeah, you did a bunch of stuff today, yeah, but I didn't feel like accomplished because I didn't accomplish my goals. But it's the same thing as like I'm doing shit all the way up to the end of the night. So it's like if you take away those things I got done at the end of the night, then you just got to add. It's just time, and it's just this thing that you think about yourself and like how you manage your life.
I do know. I think you're really hard on yourself though, because you're not lazy.
Yeah, I think I'm hard on myself too. But it's just something. It's actually so you went on vacation, whatever vacation you went on. You went on a trip, and we didn't talk too much, but it was one thing I was actually working on because this is like what gets to me when people will say things to me like, "Oh, you're so lucky, or you're so fortunate," or um, like I think I make life look easy, but like where I'm sitting, life doesn't look so easy. So it's like it's offensive when people tell me like, "Oh, you've got it so easy, you've got it so good," and like, blah blah blah, because it feels like constant torture to me a lot of times. And this is one example of how is I wake up in the morning and then I start thinking about everything I have to do, and then I get this weird thing where I'm like, "Oh my god, I've got so much to do," and then I get anxiety about um, like I got to make chicken food. Like, why am I wasting my time with chicken food? Like, I've got stuff to do. I can't waste. And then I got to go feed the chickens. I'm like, dude, I've got stuff to do. I can't do this. And then I'm doing this, and then I'm doing this, and I get total anxiety about it. And it's actually something I started working on while you were gone. Is I just started going like, I'm just doing what I'm doing, and I'm not gonna rush it. I'm not gonna like slow it down. I'm just gonna like move. I'm just gonna move, and it is what it is. And if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. And it's something that I need to do and I need to work on. But at this point, it's like forced. Like I have to, I have to do this because this is what my life has become. My life has become I'm doing things. This is how I feel, is I'm doing a ton of shit. I'm busy all day long and I'm not doing anything, is how I feel. Is I feel like I am not getting anything done, but I'm busy doing nothing. That's how I feel. And it's a trip to think about, because it's like, I mean, like today's a good example. Is I got some stuff done, but that's what I'm talking about, is it doesn't feel like I got anything done. And I need to take a step back with that and say, it's not true.
What would you have preferred to get done?
Well, I think running a business and making money is feeling like a priority right now. And I think it's weird because I think we've I think we've had to adapt in life, and this is like an extreme example because it's not true, but I feel like we've had to adapt in life to moving more towards like the Native American, where you're like growing food at home and like maybe you're canning things at home or dehydrating things, or taking care of chickens, or you're doing a lot more at home. You're kind of like forced that way. We're not forced, but it's kind of the direction we've been going. You know what I mean? And I think it gives me a little anxiety to think about, I'm doing these things that benefit us, but I'm not making. It's transitioning away from all business and like paying somebody to do these things. It'd be like sewing your own clothes. Like, holy shit, it took me like a whole day to make a pair of pants when I could have just bought them for $20. But it's kind of like, it's where we used to be when I was a kid. It was my people used to sew because they used to want to save money. Then all of a sudden we got like so rich that everybody was like, I can't even buy the material for what the Chinese can make a pair of pants for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think that's kind of where, like I say, we're being forced. Not really forced, but like you're being pushed into like sewing a pair of pants again. And I think when you just came from this mindset of like, you just buy a pair of pants because it's faster and easier, into like sewing a pair of pants, it's kind of like, like, why am I making pants?
Yeah. I hear you. That's a good analogy.
But I don't know. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. I mean, do you feel that way at all? That you're doing different things and
Yeah, I think I'm adapting better than you are. I mean,
oh,
I mean, it was like when I first started working at Fred Meyer's, that was psychologically hard to deal with. I mean, I've been an accountant or a professional since I was 23. And then all of a sudden I'm working at Fred Meyer's for minimum wage. There's been some adapting, but I think that I have a optimistic thing about me that I just have. It's just it doesn't weigh on me heavily, but I've had some adjustments for sure. But I also think as a man, you're doing things that are harder than I have to do. And I think that just being a man and having these things, just like you can lift things that I can't lift, or you can fix my car and I can't fix my car. And there is a level of being a man that I believe is just harder than a woman has it. So,
well, yeah. I mean, I think it depends on the situation. I think maybe like our situation where let's just say I fix your car and your exchange, for example, might be you clean the house. I think cleaning the house is just you move your body and the house gets clean. Whereas like you go out to your car and you're like, okay, what's the problem here? Like, how do I figure this out? And then like the bolt's fucking stripped and like there's so many things that can go wrong. Like I think that example is like, yeah, you have it way easier. But I think there's situations like if we had kids, I'm going to go work on the car while you take care of the kids. I'll be back. You know what I mean? And like you're changing diapers and like somebody's like throwing fits and shit. And it's like,
yeah,
now it's like the woman doesn't have it easier. So it's kind of like, I think your situation that you're in.
Yeah, for sure. But I think in many ways that you have it way harder than I do. Like you did the cold bath today. I think it took you over an hour.
I felt like it took me like 3 hours.
It took a while. I don't know exactly how long. But, and then I'm wiping off the stove or organizing cabinets. Like you said, it's not hard labor. And I know we have some, like, I've taken over, like, doing the hydroponic nutrients, but I still think your bit with that is harder because you organize, like, where things need to go. And, I mean, I could do that too, but...
Well, hopefully that's over. I feel like the hydroponics are finally, like, they're pretty good. It's pretty much what's going to happen. It's crazy. Like this what we talk about. Like if anybody's listening to this and you're like, oh man, we might need food next month. Maybe we'll start a hydroponics system. Like we're
over a year.
Yeah, at least 13, 14 months, right? And if the apocalypse happened today, well, I mean, we kind of felt like the apocalypse could have happened like 3 or 4 months ago, and we'd been like, okay, well, we're pretty prepared for this. But it's still like making changes and like figuring things out and being the most effective or whatever, efficient. So it's like, I don't know, if you're planning on getting food together, it's like if we started gardening today, we'd have a hard time.
Oh, for sure. A really hard time.
So it's like, that's the funny thing to me is like all these people, I don't feel like enough people have gotten prepared for what's coming. And the funny thing to me is I'm watching people, and right now I feel like the common theme is still, when this gets better, when this all clears up, then blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, you better hope shit clears up because you're behind the curve. Yeah. Like you need to start thinking about sewing your pants rather than buying them.
Well, there's a high probability that, like, well, let's just say there are a lot of things that could happen, but the dollar could lose its value. I mean, I think we're already in like a economic crisis.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, depression could be coming. People are still spending money like it's water. And, it's funny. I meant to tell you, I was talking to my kids about it. They believe everybody's living on credit.
Mm. They have been.
Yeah.
So before the COVID, they were.
We've talked about that, and I just wanted to tell you, my kids think it too. So
no, we've gone through this. It's not a thought. It's when we said, what was it, 70% of Americans don't have $1,000 in the bank account. That's all you need to know, and that was pre-COVID. 70% were living on credit cards before COVID.
I just was kind of trying to explain that even younger generations are aware. Yes, we've been on that page, but they're also
understanding it.
Yeah.
But that's a funny thing to me is like how bad shit has to get before people go, oh.
Well, yeah, because I think people are expecting it just to bounce back. Like we were saying the other day, I forget what the context was, but like things going back to normal. And I mean, I think you agree with me. There is no more normal. It's all change from here on out. There's no getting back to normal.
No, that's definitely where I'm at. I think 99% of everybody's like, there's always been recessions in history. Yeah. There's always, and I'm like, we're not in a recession.
No. Yeah.
This is not like an economic downturn. This is like, we are in shitville, USA.
Crisis.
And nobody is reporting on it, but I can look around and I can see the signs. I can see, like you talk about, there's cars for sale on the side of the road. There's houses that have been sitting on the market for a while now. And that's what I'm saying. Like I deal with classic BMWs. There are cars sitting on Facebook for a long period of time for cheap. Nobody's buying anything. And that's all you got to do to look around and see things. You know, and even in business, it's like I can feel, I mean, I can look at the numbers and people aren't spending as much money.
Yeah.
And it's just, if you're fooling yourself going like, oh, well, you know, this is going to blow over. It's like, dude, that's what I'm saying. Is like, man, you need to make some moves. You need to plan for what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody is still expecting that they can still go to the grocery store, and maybe we will be able to, but why not prepare yourself to not be able to afford anything at the store? Because I feel like when I was in Alaska, I forget we went and bought coffee, and it was actually more than it is here, the coffee that I buy.
Coffee that's prepared or coffee from the grocery store?
From the grocery store. So I think I pay $5 here. It was $8 there.
Dang, and it's expensive here.
Yeah, and normally it is more expensive here than it is there. So I thought that was crazy. Anyway, I forget where I was going with this, but like when you can get, like, this is instant coffee. It's nothing expensive that I'm talking about. And yes, $5 seems more reasonable, but you have to think that possibly this shit could cost $25. And my daughter is working in a place where is like a village in Alaska. And she was telling me like what things cost there.
Oh, insane.
It's really insane. And it's understandable. Villages have always been that way. But I really can see like those being our prices eventually everywhere. And you're not going to be able to afford your bag of Doritos or your Oreos.
But this is what this is what other developing countries have been dealing with for decades, for forever. But we as Americans always go like, oh, everybody's just like us. We just buy whatever we want. So everybody in the world can always buy whatever they want. But it's not true. And that's what we're turning into.
Yeah.
Is we're turning into another Mexico where you don't drink soda because you can't afford it. You know, it's like when we were kids, like Folgers was like this bottom of the barrel shit that you just bought, and it was almost free.
Now it's like $13 or $16, something insane.
You go to the store and you're like, I can't afford Folgers.
Yeah.
You want to know why you can't afford Folgers? Is because we're all getting poor now.
Yeah.
We're all getting poor. And I'm just going to say, you and I warned everybody this was all coming. And they're like, oh, well, you know, whatever, we got to do this and this. And it's like, no, you can't do this. Stop now. Stop now.
Yeah.
Nobody listened. And so here we are. And this, I'm going to tell you more. That's what I'm saying is like all these people that are like, well, when this blows over and everything's fine. Like, nope. That is not going to happen. It is not going to happen. It's going to get a lot worse. And we're starting the worst right now. We're not almost through it. And, you know, obviously just my opinion, but it'll be interesting to see who buckles down. But, you know, you and I have been doing some DoorDash to make some money, and like, it's just the same thing. Like I look at DoorDashing and I'm like, my head explodes because I'm like, dude, how much money are you guys paying to have somebody like drive this like a block away?
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe they're making like $200,000 a year. And in that case, like,
yeah, I mean,
fuck it, man. Order some
maybe
DoorDash.
they work from home. I've thought of that too. Yeah, you have your, you know, lunch possibly delivered. It makes sense. But
listen, how many people are you delivering to? Because I know how many I'm delivering to that are some broke ass people that you can tell need the money. And
yeah,
here's the other thing.
Definitely those as well.
Well, and I'll tell you what, you're broke when you don't tip too, or you're just, or either that or you're just an asshole. But if you're not tipping, maybe you shouldn't be ordering DoorDash
or Dairy Queen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than the economy too. It's like we talk about. We have division among us, and social media is making it worse. And, you know, I think speaking about people saying, oh, it'll get back to normal, it is just, we have a history of very strong, powerful nations falling, and there's no reason why it can't happen to America.
Well, but here's been my point is like, 2008, like housing crisis, that was all by design. The banks knew what they were doing. The government bailed them out. Like it was all what we were doing. But this is my point: is this how I know it's not just going to bounce back? Is because none of this is just by chance happening. This has all been designed. This is all. Everything's been like enabled. Like the COVID thing was made up. Like whatever. I don't want to get into it. I'm not saying the virus wasn't real, but COVID was blown out of proportion. Maybe I should say it was exaggerated. The masking thing, and that's what we go through is like talking about. You guys closed restaurants, but you kept grocery stores open. That was on purpose. Like if you can't see that, you need to open up your brain and you need to discover like why are you being blind to these things. Restaurants weren't open, but grocery stores were open. Why? Explain. How many grocery store clerks died from COVID? Okay, 99% of them. No, this is all obvious. Like the gym's closed. It's like this is all by design. Black Lives Matter. It's all like it's all by design, and that's why it's not coming back. Is because that's what they want. They want to bring it all down. And so why would they just all of a sudden ease up and be like, you know what? We had this big plan of bringing everything down, but we decided that's not really actually a good idea. So we're just going to let everything recover. It's not what's happening. Not what's going to happen. So it's like you just need to understand that basic thing, and you'd be like, oh shit, he's right. This is all by design, and there is a goal. There is an end goal with what they are doing, and it's not just to fuck with you for a couple years and then let it be. It's to destroy the whole entire United States or the world or whatever we're going with it, whatever their goal is. And that's where we're headed. And that's why, if you're watching this, man, stop buying DoorDash, except for here where we live because we're making money. And like start investing in something. Start preparing, like buy some guns and some bullets or like,
I think protection is a good idea. I think a source of food is a really good idea.
Well, like that's one thing like nobody's really discussing is like we did hydroponics, which I'm so grateful we did because that gives me a lot of peace of mind. Even if nothing, if stuff does bounce back today, still a great idea.
Well, yeah, we're still like nutritionally ahead.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But here's the thing: if you don't want to do hydroponics, just get some pots and put some seeds in some pots and start growing. You can grow spinach in a pot. You can grow kale in a pot.
Herbs.
Anything you want in a pot. Yeah. Like you don't need hydroponics. You just need some dirt and some. Like I've been using your old 1 gallon water bottles. I cut the top off, fill them with dirt, and I put plants in there. You don't even need to buy the pot. Like you could probably get dirt out of your backyard. Fill that pot up with dirt and then learn how to garden in the house.
Potatoes just pretty much grow themselves.
So this is the point is like, if you're not doing some of these things, like when the shit goes down, you're going to regret it.
Yeah.
You got to figure something out. Like you're saying, like throw, if you have some potatoes at your house that are going old, go bury them in the yard, see what happens.
Yeah. Just YouTube it. You just need to wait for them to sprout and then bury them.
Yeah. I mean, think about this. So what was it? It was 2020, right? That we would go hiking and like I started learning about mushrooms.
Yeah.
I didn't learn, obviously, there's a lot to know about mushrooms. It's tough for sure. But I feel like I could go hiking in mushroom season and I could pull a couple meals at least.
Well, yeah. And understanding that there may be shit in your yard that you could eat and survive off of.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can do.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but like I found this giant. I've never seen slugs as big here as anywhere else in my life. Like slugs are like
Yeah, they are big.
Giant. They're giant. I mean, I don't know how to explain how big they are, but they're huge. But I caught. He tried to run away from me, but I caught this slug. I caught this giant slug today, and I threw him in with the chickens. And it was pretty barbaric, but those chickens just picked him apart.
Oh,
and wow. They loved it. They loved it, and our one chicken grabbed it and just ran around and like
with it in its mouth.
Yeah, because everybody else was chasing it, and it was like, no, this is my giant slug. And I was like, damn. But we might be fighting the chickens for the slugs.
Yeah, could be.
Fry those slugs up. Mix them in with some mushrooms because they got a similar texture. Maybe you won't know. Eating tree bark, pine cones.
Yeah. Me and Dad were watching The Count of Monte Cristo yesterday, and when he's in the chateau, whatever you call it, jail, basically, they catch rats and eat them. And my dad was like, I'd have to be pretty bad off to eat a rat, but I mean, maybe.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, you know, we had a conversation with somebody we know, and we were talking about, you know, how you can have like these chickens turns into your pets, and how if it comes down to being hungry, you might have to kill your quote unquote pet, your chicken, to eat it. And this person was like, oh yeah, I could do it if I was hungry. For sure. And it's like, man, you better start preparing right now, because we've got our rooster, and he's being a pain in our butt. And as willing as I am to eat a chicken, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go harvest him, and I don't want to eat him. I'm already thinking about, you know, I've got to chop his neck off. I got to chop his legs off. I got to gut him. And then what am I, you know, I'm either going to cook him whole, or I'm going to tear his limbs off and cook him. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to barbecue his legs. And then you know what you're thinking about the whole time you're eating that leg. At least me.
No, for sure. You're thinking about the rooster.
Yeah, I'm thinking like this is reality, right? Like we have been hidden from reality because somebody else. But listen, I eat hot wings all the time.
Yeah.
And you know how often
we really have.
Yeah, you know how often I think about, oh, look, a little tiny baby chicken. And that's even more disturbing because hot wings are tiny. And so you know what that means? How big the chicken was?
Yeah.
That chicken was tiny. You killed the little baby chicken. So you could have, and here's the thing I've always loved about hot wings is like, let's say you can eat 20 hot wings. Let's say, you know,
10 baby chickens.
Well, you're getting two arms and 2 legs, so there's 4 per chicken. So you're eating 5 chickens. You're eating 5 chickens. I Googled this not long ago, right? Like where I asked like how many chickens, and like we kill like, I'm making shit up, but like 5 billion chickens a year in the United States.
You're not making it too far. It was like an astounding amount.
Yeah, it was like 500,000 chickens a day in the United States or something weird.
Yeah, it was. I don't know the exact numbers, but it was astounding daily. Yeah, it might have been like 1 million a day. It's something crazy. Because
there's 330 million people in the United States, and so it's something like 1 million chickens or something killed every single day.
It's a lot.
But that's just chickens. That's not pigs. That's not cows.
Yeah.
It's not all this other food we eat. That's just chickens. But that's after we asked, I was like, oh my God, like think about all the chicken farms. How long does it take to raise a chicken? Like I think the meat chickens that we saw at the store said 6 weeks and you can eat the chicken. But that's 6 weeks. And so you're talking, if it was 1 million chickens a day times, well, 6 weeks, six weeks times 7 days. So 42 days, you know, that's 42 million chickens by the time you got to start over. It's just insane. It's like, where do these things even fit?
Yeah. You know, if you just take a look around at the store, like you're in denial about, I mean, just the soup aisle, the chicken soup, the steak, like you're just thinking one store like just the meat section. It's crazy to think about. And we are removed from it, absolutely. The thought of eating that rooster is very disturbing. Like,
well, that's why I'm doing it though. Because this is what I'm saying is like, if you think when you're hungry, like it'll be easier, it won't be. You better be practicing now.
yeah, no, I agree with you. And let's quit being so far removed from like reality. We're eating it anyway.
This is what I said. This is why I went hunting. This is why I went hunting for elk. Because I said, I cannot eat meat anymore unless I'm willing to go kill my own food. I refuse to do it anymore. And I went and shot my elk. I went and shot my deer, and it was not easy. I hated every minute of it. And I know how removed I am from it. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we're going to have to harvest this rooster on this weekend. And it's like, well, I don't want to do that. Like, you know, it cracks me up because these people want to remove themselves further from it. I'm trying to like make myself not as soft, but there's so many people, and I know I've talked about this a lot with you, I'm sorry, but there's so many people that are like, I want chicken tenders because I don't like eating chicken with bones in it because it makes me realize what I'm doing. And it's like, listen, man, just because you take the bone out, it doesn't, you're not doing anything different. You're just faking yourself out.
Well, I mean, that's all part of it. The veins and the
the veins are a big deal now, yeah.
Gristle. I mean,
I just want tenders, man, because it reminds me of not a living animal that I killed.
Yeah.
What are those people gonna do when they have to eat a rat? Dude, you are fucked.
A rabbit, maybe. A rat.
Anything that moves.
Yeah.
Anything that moves. You are not going to be able to harvest that thing by yourself. You will not.
Yeah, it's scary.
even like I think, well, I get this way, and like, you know, I guess it's me being vulnerable how soft I can be, but I look at eggs. Like, sometimes if I'm making eggs and I crack an egg and I think about what that is, like, I'm like, dude, it's so gross to eat like a chicken's not fertilized baby.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's gross. And like, I was even thinking about this the other day because we have our chickens, and you know, we talk about we have a rooster. Very possible some of our eggs are fertilized, and I'm just saying, like, you know, we let them sit for a while on the porch, and like, I was thinking, like, well, what if you cracked an egg open and it had like a couple feathers or a beak? You know, it's just like the crazy thing is like, that's disgusting. But the crazy thing is like, why wouldn't you eat it? Because it's like, there are people that eat that and they don't have a problem with it. But this is how soft we are.
We are soft.
There should be nothing wrong with eating a half unborn chicken.
There should be.
Yeah, but you know, I'll be the first one to admit that shit's going in the garbage.
Actually, yeah, that would be hard.
To be even more morbid about it, I would just feed it to the chickens. But chickens don't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care. It's their baby.
You talk about your grandma, and my grandma was raised on a farm, and my dad's grandparents were farmers, and these were just things you did so your family could eat. And there was no being grossed out.
My grandma wrote in her like little journal thing that when they would harvest a pig, they used everything. They used everything. And the only thing they didn't, like, I guess, know how to use so well was the stomach. And so what they did with the stomach is they would tie knots in the ends of the stomach, and they'd blow it up with their mouth, inflate it, tie the knots, and then they'd use it for a ball. They'd use it for a toy to play with until it popped. They would bounce that thing so much that it would pop. And then that was the end. You'd have to wait to harvest a new pig. And you got excited when they harvested the pig because you would have a toy.
Ball. Yeah.
They didn't have any toys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is just where we were at. I mean, that was not that long ago. Like,
no, it wasn't that long ago.
90 years ago?
Well, my grandma was born in 25, so
100 years ago? But
that's when she was born.
Yeah.
So when she was playing with toys, well, yeah, you know.
90 years ago?
Ish, yeah.
But that's the funny thing is, like, I think if you would have talked to my grandma, you know, the hard part is going from having everything that we've had in the last decade to not having as much. That's hard because I don't think you'd ever hear a complaint coming from my grandma about playing with a pig stomach. I think she was grateful. In fact, I think, she was really happy. Like, my grandma raised her whole house, her whole family, which was like 8 kids, on a dirt floor. Like, literally, they didn't even have flooring; they just had dirt. And they had an outhouse. They didn't have plumbing. They didn't have any of that stuff. And in her journal thing, she talks about how grateful she was for that dirt house, how stoked she was that she had her own house with a dirt floor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's where we're going now, is like, we live in a really great house, but then it's like, I get freaked out about where things are going today, and maybe won't have enough money and maintain the house. For Christ's sakes, we still have a floor, and we have a roof, and we have heat, and we have a running toilet and a shower. And
so if we have
sauna.
A few buckets around catching water.
Yeah. I mean, how bad are things?
They're, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all perspective too, for sure. But yeah.
But it's the relativity and the weakness. But I think that'll be the interesting thing, is watching. Society has gotten weak because they've been able to.
Sure.
And that's changing. So I think that'll be the interesting part, is to watch these people who have been, maybe I shouldn't use the word weak, but these people who have not been efficient in their life, they're having to make changes. Like, you don't go to the grocery store anymore and like buy like this or that because you can't afford it. Now you're having to like think about maybe like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, And I think it's like life forces you in directions. So it'll be interesting to watch all these people who are being forced, how they're, you have to adapt. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to watch everybody. But I think because of that relativity, I think people will become, just upset about it. I think people will not like the change.
I think a lot of people will not be able to handle it.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the funny thing, right? Is like, you hear these stories of like the Great Depression, when people were like throwing themselves out of like skyscrapers because they lost all this money and stuff. And it's like, it's the same thing as like, well, what are you complaining about because you don't have money?
Yeah, you're alive.
Well, but this is what you and I have talked about on this podcast and gone through in life, is why don't you take a step back and look at what you do have?
Yeah.
Because even those people that are throwing themselves out of skyscrapers, like, if they probably would have taken a step back and like, oh, well, I mean, just think about this. Like, what about your health? What about people that are born with like no arms and legs, and you have arms and legs? You're not even grateful for your arms and legs. Or what if you can see? And there's blind people out there that are like, dude, you ungrateful asshole. I just wish I could see.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I started doing gratitude sessions probably 10 years ago, and mine started out like that, being grateful for my body. Just, your body has an intelligence all of its own that just keeps you alive and allows you to move. And I think we lose sight of that. Like, a lot of us don't even think about it until you maybe get sick and don't have it. But it is something to be grateful for. The shit is like keeping you alive and doing what it needs to do in like this massive intelligence. And you wake up breathing, and you wake up in a comfortable bed or a cot or whatever you have. And it is all things that you can be grateful for.
Well, what about these people that throw themselves from the skyscraper because they're out of money? What about the idea that you had the opportunity to have money at one point in your life, where somebody maybe in like whatever, in Korea or Africa or Mexico or something. They've never even had that opportunity. They've been as poor their whole life as you are now that you lost all your money.
Yeah.
What about that? You had this great experience that these people never even get to experience.
Kind of like Diogenes and living in the little cave thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all perspective.
Yeah.
I think you could be living in a cave and be happy.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing I'm thinking about, though, is how moving from place to place is the problem. Moving from mindset to mindset is a problem. If you can make it through the mindset that you have to adapt to, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's just that transition can be rough. And I think that's a lot of what I've been going through lately is just like, you have to go through that mindset and you have to go through that transition.
Yeah.
But things level out and you get used to them.
For sure.
And like you and I have talked about, it could be better. Like if you go work at your corporate job for $300,000 a year, and all of a sudden now you live like a Native American in a teepee. If that transition probably gonna be rough, but at some point you might be like, oh my God, I don't have to wake up and go to a corporate job and deal with my boss and my coworkers, and all I do is hang out in the teepee and I go like hunt and gather, and like this is actually pretty sweet. I'm used to it now.
Yeah, you may have zero stress.
But going to the teepee is going to be rough.
Maybe.
I think it would be. Maybe you wouldn't.
Never know.
Yeah, you seem to not care about some of the things that I care about.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, well, do you want to talk about more stuff? Do you want to call that a day?
We can call that a day.
We're
Number
probably
51.
Yeah, we're probably 50 minutes deep.
Oh yeah, that's good.
40 something.
Has to get going.
Yeah, me too. I got stuff to do. Okay, well, until episode 52.
See you next time.
And next time.
It's been real.